They're watching you, not casually, not from a distance. They're studying your every move, like there's a hidden code in the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself. And the wildest part? You can feel it. Deep down, you know something about your presence pulls eyes toward you. It's not always admiration. Sometimes it's curiosity. Sometimes it's envy. And sometimes it's fear. But there's a reason they can't look away, and it's not the reason they'll ever admit out loud. Pause for a moment. If you've ever walked into a room and felt every glance stick to you without saying a word, hit that like button, because this message was meant for you. Now listen carefully. You're not being watched because of how you dress, or how much money you have, or what you own. They're watching because of the frequency you carry. You've been vibrating at a level most people can't understand, and instead of ignoring it, they track you. You've become the unspoken mirror that reflects back to them what they're missing. And here's the chilling truth. People often watch not because they admire, but because they're searching. They're searching for cracks, for weaknesses, for moments where you slip. They want to know if what they sense in you is real, or if it's just their imagination. But the more they watch, the more they realize it's real. You carry something they can't copy. You've noticed it before. That silence when you walk into a room. That sudden pause in conversations when your presence shifts the atmosphere. Some smile nervously. Some act as if you're invisible but peek when they think you won't notice. Others overcompensate, raising their voice, trying to outshine you, trying to cover the fact that your natural light dims everything else around them. They won't tell you this, but they feel it. The energy you bring alters the environment. And isn't it strange how you can sense their eyes even when your back is turned? That prickling feeling across your shoulders, that sudden awareness that someone is locked in on you. That's not paranoia. That's your intuition sharpening because your spirit knows you're being observed. Let me ask you, why do you think the ones who barely know you act like they've studied your life? Why do they keep track of your progress, your setbacks, your relationships, even your mistakes? Why do they whisper, speculate, sometimes even spread lies, just to feel closer to what they don't understand? Because your existence has become their entertainment, their research, their obsession. But here's the twist. You're not the problem. You're the answer. They're watching because deep down, they want what you carry. They see the way you survive storms they would drown in. They see how no matter how many times you get knocked down, you rise again, stronger. They see you stepping into places you were never supposed to reach, moving with a grace that doesn't make sense to them. And in their private thoughts, they wonder, who is this person really? How do they keep doing it? They won't ask you directly, but they'll watch, hoping your life will reveal the secret they can't find in themselves. But let me tell you something they don't want you to realize. Most people don't watch with pure intentions. Some watch with admiration, but many watch with hidden motives. Some are waiting to see you fall, so they can whisper, "See, I knew they weren't that special." Some are waiting to see if you'll fail, so it can comfort them in their own stagnation. And some are studying you because they need to know how to move against you. Think about it. Why do enemies always know your steps before you even share them out loud? Because they've been silently observing, piecing together clues, reading between your lines, learning your rhythm. But here's where they're wrong. They think they can predict you. What they don't realize is that you're not moving by chance, you're being guided, and no one can track a path that's divinely orchestrated. This is why it unsettles them. They watch you closely, yet they still can't figure out why things keep aligning in your favor. They see doors open for you that remain locked for them. They see you bounce back from setbacks that should have destroyed you. And no matter how long they study, no matter how close they watch, they can't decode the mystery that is your life. Let me ask you, how many times have you felt misunderstood, even when you explained yourself clearly? How many times have people treated you with suspicion, like you're hiding something, when all you're doing is being yourself? That's because they can't reconcile the light you carry with the ordinary shell they see. To them, it doesn't add up. So they watch, hoping one day they'll catch you slipping, hoping to find proof that you're not what their spirit already knows you are. But here's the truth, they'll never say out loud. What they see in you terrifies them. Because if you can rise from nothing, what does that say about their excuses? If you can glow without needing validation, what does that say about their dependency on applause? If you can walk into a room and command attention without trying, what does that say about their effort to be seen? You've been underestimated, doubted, overlooked. And yet now, those same ones are observing like hawks, pretending not to notice you while secretly memorizing your every step. They may not clap for you in public, but they study you in private. And I'll tell you why, because you represent what they've been suppressing in themselves. Freedom, authenticity, power, a connection to something higher. You move differently because you are different. And people always keep their eyes on what they can't explain. But don't get it twisted. Being watched is not always a compliment. Sometimes it's a warning. Sometimes it's a sign that your next move has to be protected. Because the more they watch, the more they want access. And not everyone watching you deserves to be near you. That's why you've been feeling the urge to go silent, to move in secrecy, to keep your plans close to your chest. That's not isolation. That's divine strategy. Because the watchers are waiting for information, and the less you give, the more unsettled they become. They want answers. You give them mystery. They want to predict your outcome. You move unpredictably. They want to control your narrative. But your story keeps rewriting itself in ways they never saw coming. And here's what you must remember. Being watched means you're chosen. No one studies the ordinary. No one obsesses over the invisible. They only watch what carries value. And whether they love you, envy you, or fear you, they cannot take their eyes off you. But what if I told you the very reason they're watching isn't even about you? What if the hidden reason runs much deeper than curiosity, deeper than envy, deeper than admiration? What if they're watching because on some level, your life is prophecy, and they know it? Prophecy. That word alone shakes people, because it suggests destiny, inevitability, something far beyond human control. And whether they realize it consciously or not, when people watch you, they sense that your path is not ordinary. They can't explain why, but something about your journey feels written long before you arrived. It's why even strangers who barely know your name feel compelled to pay attention. It's why old acquaintances who never valued you before now check in, not out of kindness, but out of curiosity. They're wondering if the whispers in their spirit are true. This person is marked for something greater. And isn't it strange? They may never say it out loud, but you've seen it in their eyes. That flash of recognition, like they've spotted a clue. They don't understand why they're drawn to you, but they can't detach themselves either. It's almost as if your existence has become a living sign, a confirmation of things they didn't want to believe. But here's the part that will unsettle them even more. You are not simply living a life, you are fulfilling a pattern. Every struggle you've endured, every setback, every moment of isolation was shaping you for this very visibility. That's why your life feels exposed, why it seems like you can't make a single move without someone noticing. You are not hidden, because you weren't meant to be. Your rise has to be public so that no one can deny what's happening, and this is what makes them uneasy. They're not just watching your actions, they're watching for signs. They're studying you like a message written in flesh. That's why they remember details about you that even you forget. That's why they recall things from years ago, moments you moved past, but they've kept archived in their memory. They're piecing together your story like investigators, searching for the thread that explains how you became what you are. But they don't understand that your glow doesn't come from perfection. It comes from persistence. It's not the absence of wounds that makes you shine. It's the way you've healed from them. It's not the lack of betrayal that sets you apart. It's the way you survive betrayal without becoming bitter. They're watching because they can't figure out how you carry so much light after walking through so much darkness. Think about it. How many people have underestimated you? How many times have you been dismissed, overlooked, laughed at? Yet somehow, every insult, every rejection, every setback became fuel. And now the very people who once ignored you find themselves obsessed with you. Isn't it ironic? The ones who thought you'd never amount to anything. Now monitor your every move, searching for evidence that they were wrong, or maybe hoping you'll prove them right again. And let's be real, there's something unsettling about being watched without explanation. When their eyes follow you, you can feel the questions swirling inside them. Why does this person move differently? Why do they always bounce back? Why do they shine without trying? But they won't ask you directly, because asking would mean admitting that they see something extraordinary. Instead, they lurk, they observe, they wait. But here's the hidden reason. They're not just watching you, they're measuring themselves against you. They want to see how you respond under pressure, how you act when doors close, how you carry yourself when no applause is given. Because deep down, they want to know if you're truly built from something they cannot access. And every time you rise above what should have crushed you, you confirm what they fear. You are not like them. Let me ask you, have you noticed how some people grow silent when you talk about your dreams? How they tilt their head, squint slightly, as if they're analyzing instead of listening? That's because they're not hearing your words, they're hearing possibility. They're thinking, if this person makes it, what does that say about me? If they can break through, what excuse will I have left? Your vision doesn't just inspire, it exposes. And that's why they track your movements so closely. They need to know if you'll actually do it. They need to know if what they sense in you is destiny or just coincidence. But every step you take, every silent victory, every closed door breakthrough that eventually becomes undeniable, it confirms it. You are walking proof that what's impossible for others can be inevitable for you. But here's where it gets even deeper. Some of those watching you aren't just curious, they're threatened, because your presence alone disrupts the illusion they've built. You don't even have to say much. Just existing as you are exposes lies they've been living. That's why some people grow hostile towards you without reason. That's why they compete when you're not competing. Why they mimic when you're not even trying to lead. They're not reacting to your actions, they're reacting to your essence. And I'll tell you the part they'll never admit. The ones who envy you the most are often the ones who need you the most. They sense that being around you could elevate them, but their pride won't allow them to acknowledge it. So instead of asking for guidance, they watch from the shadows, trying to steal strategies without humbling themselves to learn. But they'll never succeed, because what you carry can't be stolen. It's not technique, it's not style, it's not even talent, it's essence. And essence is untouchable. They can watch you all they want, but they'll never recreate the blueprint, because the blueprint isn't of this world. Have you noticed how your life feels like it's accelerating lately? How even the smallest steps you take are amplified, noticed, discussed? That's not coincidence. That's exposure. You've entered a season where your presence cannot be ignored, and the watchers feel it. They're scrambling to interpret what it means. But here's the truth. They don't need to understand it. They just need to witness it. Because your life has become a sign that the tables are turning. That those who were once counted out are being elevated. But be careful. This kind of attention attracts both admirers and adversaries. Some watch with love, some with envy, some with intention to harm. This is why discernment is everything right now. Because the same people clapping in public may be dissecting you in private. The same ones who ask about your success may be secretly hoping for your failure. Not everyone watching is cheering. Some are calculating. And yet no matter what angle they watch from, they all come to the same conclusion. You can't be stopped. Because the very reason they're watching you is the same reason they can't destroy you. You were chosen. And the chosen cannot be touched by observation, only elevated by it. So let me leave you with this question. Their eyes are on you, but what if the hidden reason isn't about you at all? What if the real reason they're watching is because through you, they're about to witness something that will change them forever? Think about it. What if the reason their eyes are glued to you has less to do with who you are in the flesh and more to do with what your spirit is revealing about them? What if your life is functioning like a spotlight, exposing every hidden corner they've tried to keep in the dark? That's why some people grow uncomfortable in your presence. You don't even have to say a word, yet something about you makes them restless. Your energy holds a mirror to their soul, and you've seen it. The nervous laughter, the quick change of subject, the subtle distance people create when they realize they can't pretend around you. They know you see through facades. They know you can't be fooled by surface appearances. And whether they love it or hate it, they can't deny it. You carry an awareness that unsettles them. That's one of the deepest hidden reasons they're watching you. Because whether they admit it or not, you remind them of what they've ignored in themselves. You remind them of the dreams they buried, the power they abandoned, the authenticity they traded for approval. And so they observe you, not just to study you, but to test themselves, to see if they still have it in them, or if they've lost it completely. Let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed that some people copy your style, your ideas, even your words, and then pretend like they came up with it on their own? That's not a coincidence. That's evidence. They're not just watching, they're trying to extract. They're hoping that if they take enough pieces of your essence, they can replicate your glow. But here's the part they'll never understand. What makes you different is not what you do, it's who you are. And no imitation can ever match authenticity. That's why their copies always fall flat. That's why, even if they mimic your outer moves, the results don't line up, because they're missing the invisible foundation. Your path isn't powered by trends, it's powered by alignment. And alignment can't be borrowed, it has to be lived. And yet, they'll keep watching, hoping that one day they'll crack the code. But all the while, not realizing the truth. The code isn't hidden in your actions, it's hidden in your resilience. It's the way you keep showing up when everything inside you wants to quit. It's the way you carry peace even when chaos surrounds you. It's the way you speak life when you've been fed poison. That's what they can't duplicate. Now here's the twist. Some people are not just watching for themselves, they're watching on behalf of others. Think about it. How many times has someone you barely know seemed to know details about you that you never shared with them? How many times have you heard rumors about your life from people who couldn't possibly know the truth firsthand? That's because someone is reporting. Someone is watching not just for curiosity, but to deliver information back to others. This is why you've been feeling pressure to be selective with your circle, because the watchers are not always strangers. Sometimes they're the ones sitting closest to you. Sometimes they're the ones smiling in your face while silently keeping score. And that's why discernment is no longer optional, it's survival. But here's the good news. Every time they watch, every time they monitor, every time they try to track your life, they're only confirming what's already true. You matter. Your life has weight. Your existence shifts atmospheres. Otherwise, why would they care so much? Why would they invest so much energy in keeping tabs on you if you were ordinary? It's almost comical, isn't it? The ones who said you'd never rise are now glued to your rise. The ones who laughed at your beginnings are now silenced by your progress. And the ones who once treated you as invisible now treat you as unforgettable. Because whether they like it or not, your story demands attention. But let's go deeper. There's another reason they're watching, a reason most people won't see. You are a forerunner. You're walking paths before others get to them. You're breaking barriers before others even know those barriers exist. And because of this, your life becomes a map. People are studying you because your steps are showing them what's possible. Some of them will never acknowledge it. They'll act like they don't see you. They'll minimize your wins. They'll dismiss your breakthroughs. But behind closed doors, they're referencing you. They're adjusting their own moves based on yours. You've become the silent blueprint for people who don't even have the humility to give you credit. But here's where it gets even more profound. You didn't ask for this role. You didn't wake up one day and say, I want to be watched. No, you were chosen for it. And being chosen means your life is no longer just about you. It means your victories are not just personal, they're prophetic. When you rise, it signals to others that rising is possible. When you break through, it declares to others that breakthrough is attainable. That's why your life feels so public, even when you crave privacy. Because you were never meant to be hidden. You were meant to be seen. And yes, it can feel overwhelming. Yes, it can feel unfair. You didn't ask for all these eyes, all this scrutiny, all this observation. But here's the truth. You were built for it. That's why you've been given the strength to endure what others would collapse under. That's why you can move under pressure and still shine. That's why even your quiet seasons carry noise in the spirit realm. Because your journey was designed to be a signpost. But don't get it twisted. Being a signpost doesn't mean you're a spectacle for their amusement. It means you're evidence. You're proof that the impossible is possible. You're proof that destiny can't be denied. You're proof that those who walk in authenticity cannot be stopped by human opinion. And this is the hidden reason they're watching. They know, whether consciously or not, that your story carries prophecy. That your rise is not just about you, but about the shifting of times, the breaking of cycles, the undoing of patterns that kept generations bound. And in some strange way, their watching is not just curiosity, it's participation. They're witnesses to what they cannot stop. So let me leave you with this thought. If their eyes are locked on you, maybe it's because the universe, God, or destiny itself is forcing them to see what they tried to ignore. Maybe your life has become their lesson, and whether they like it or not, they're being made to watch. But what happens when the watchers begin to realize that the very thing they fear, the glow they can't ignore, is about to expand beyond their control? What happens when they recognize that they're not just watching a person rise, but a movement beginning? A movement. That's what unsettles them the most. Because it's one thing to watch a single person rise. It's another thing to realize that your rise is contagious. That by simply existing in your authenticity, you're unlocking others. And once people see it in you, they begin to question why they've been settling for less in themselves. That's what terrifies the watchers. Because they know influence isn't about numbers, it's about energy. One spark is enough to ignite a forest. And you, chosen one, are that spark. They don't want to admit it, but they sense it. That's why their eyes won't leave you. Because they're not just watching your life unfold. They're watching a chain reaction. They're watching as your glow starts to stir something in those around you. They're watching as people who once doubted you now draw strength from your example. And they're realizing that if they can't stop you, they can't stop what comes after you either. Think about it. Why do you think they try so hard to distract you? Why do they spread rumors, stir conflict, throw obstacles in your way? It's not because they're strong, it's because they're desperate. They know if you ever fully step into what you carry, their grip on others will be broken. That's the hidden fear. You're not just a person rising. You're a sign that systems are failing, illusions are cracking, lies are being exposed. And here's the chilling truth. They don't just watch you out of curiosity, they watch you to calculate. They're strategizing. Some are waiting to see where they can insert themselves into your journey, hoping to benefit without doing the work. Others are waiting for the perfect moment to sabotage, thinking if they can just interrupt your flow, they can slow the ripple effect. But what they don't understand is this: nothing they do can interfere with what's been ordained. Let me ask you, have you ever wondered why people who once ignored you suddenly circle back when you're doing well? Why old connections reappear out of nowhere, claiming they've always believed in you? That's not coincidence. That's evidence of watchers realizing too late that they underestimated you. And now, instead of admitting their mistake, they try to rewrite history, to align themselves with your glow as if they were part of it all along. But you know the truth. You remember who left when you were at your lowest. You remember who laughed when you dreamed out loud. You remember who doubted when you needed support the most. And no matter how much they watch now, No matter how much they try to attach themselves to your shine, they can't erase their absence during your darkness. And here's where discernment becomes your shield. Because not every person watching deserves a seat at your table. Some are meant to observe from a distance, to learn the lesson without touching the blessing. That's why your spirit has been telling you to protect your energy. That's why you felt the urge to pull back, to move in silence, to cut ties without explanation. Because visibility without boundaries is a trap. But don't let the pressure of their eyes make you shrink. Don't let the weight of their attention convince you to dim your light. Because the very reason they're watching is the very reason you must keep shining. They may not clap, they may not speak, they may not support, but their silent observation is already a testimony. It proves you've become undeniable. And let me remind you of something powerful. Being watched is not a burden, it's confirmation. If your life were insignificant, they wouldn't care. If your steps were meaningless, they wouldn't track them. The fact that so many eyes are locked on you, even in silence, means you've stepped into a realm of influence that can't be ignored. But let's take this even deeper. Some of those watching aren't even fully aware of why they're doing it. Their spirit is drawn to you in ways their mind can't understand. They may even dislike you, yet they can't resist checking in. They may speak against you, yet they can't detach from your presence. Why? Because your life is resonating with something buried deep inside of them. They're not watching you with their eyes alone. They're watching with their soul. And here's the hidden mystery. Some of those watching you are the very people who will one day be transformed by you. They may resist now, they may criticize now, but the seed is already planted. The more they observe, the more they're confronted with what's possible. And when their time comes, they'll remember you. They'll remember the example you set when no one believed in you. They'll remember how you carried yourself under pressure, how you refused to fold when it would have been easier to quit. And that memory will awaken something in them. That's why you can't stop. That's why you can't let their eyes intimidate you. Because you're not just living for yourself. You're paving the way for others, even the ones who don't realize it yet. But I need to warn you, this kind of spotlight comes with spiritual warfare. The more they watch, the more some will try to drain you. Not always physically, but energetically. Have you noticed how certain people leave you feeling exhausted after just one conversation? Have you noticed how some interactions feel like they've taken something from you, even if no words were spoken? That's not your imagination. That's the cost of being watched by those who are hungry, but unwilling to feed themselves. This is why protection matters. Protecting your time, your mind, your space, your spirit. Not everyone deserves access, because access is energy, and energy is life. The watchers will take as much as you allow, so you must draw the line. And yet, here's the beautiful paradox. You don't need to fear their watching, because while they're studying you, you're being fortified. While they're dissecting your every move, your steps are being ordered. While they're plotting in silence, blessings are multiplying in ways they can't stop. Their watching doesn't weaken you, it testifies to you. It proves that you are walking in something so rare, so powerful, so divine that they can't look away. So when you feel the weight of those unseen eyes, remember this: you are not prey, you are prophecy. You are not under threat, you are under spotlight. And the hidden reason they're watching is not to see you fail, but to be forced to witness what happens when someone chosen refuses to break. But let me ask you, if their eyes are glued to you now, what will happen when the very thing they fear comes true? What will they do when you rise so high, so undeniably, that watching is no longer enough, and they're forced to confront their own reflection through your success? When that moment comes, and trust me, it's coming, they won't just be watching anymore, they'll be confronted. Because your rise isn't just your rise, it's a mirror to every excuse they've ever made, every dream they abandoned, every chance they never took. And when your light gets too bright to ignore, they'll be forced to decide. Do they keep watching from the shadows? Or do they finally face themselves? That's why some of them resent you so deeply. Because every step you take forward exposes how long they've been standing still. Every time you create, every time you evolve, every time you bounce back, it highlights the fact that they've been recycling the same patterns, clinging to the same comfort zones. Your movement exposes their stagnation, and that's unbearable for people who've built their identity on staying safe. But here's what they don't realize. Your journey was never about competing with them. You've never moved with the intention to outshine anyone. You've only been following your calling, chasing alignment, walking your path. Yet because your path challenges their illusions, they've turned it into a silent competition in their minds. That's why their watching feels heavy sometimes. They're not observing with open hearts. They're measuring with insecure ones. And here's the irony. Some of the very people who wish you'd fail are the same ones who need your success the most. Because deep down, they're hoping you prove it's possible. They're hoping you make it so they can finally believe that maybe, just maybe, there's hope for them too. They may never admit it, but their eyes are locked on you because if you win, it tells them that the system of limitation isn't as airtight as they believed. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how the same people who never celebrate your victories are the quickest to notice your mistakes? How they'll stay silent when you achieve something great but suddenly find their voice when you stumble? That's not coincidence. That's proof. They're invested in your downfall because it validates their comfort zone. If you shine too brightly, they're forced to confront their own dimming. But if you fall, they can breathe a sigh of relief and say, "See, I knew they weren't special after all." But here's where they miscalculated. You don't stay down. They've watched you fall before, but every single time, you've risen. And not just risen, but risen stronger. That's why they're still watching. Because part of them is fascinated. They can't figure out how you keep regenerating. They can't figure out how you take pain and turn it into power, how you take rejection and turn it into redirection, how you take loss and transform it into wisdom. And let me tell you the truth. This resilience is not normal. It's supernatural. It's divine. It's the mark of the chosen. That's why they study you like a mystery. Because their logic says you should have been done by now. Their reasoning says you should have given up. And yet, here you are, still moving, still shining, still building. That contradiction between what they expected and what you've become is the very reason they can't take their eyes off you. But don't get it twisted. Some of those watching don't just want answers. They want access. They'll disguise it as friendship, support, or admiration. But what they really want is proximity to the glow without paying the price. They'll try to attach themselves to your light without carrying their own oil. And this is where you must be cautious, because not everyone who claps for you is rooting for you. Some are clapping just to get close enough to drain you. That's why silence has been your greatest weapon. The less you reveal, the more unsettled they become, because they're desperate for information. They want to know your plans, your strategies, your next move. They want to predict you, to anticipate you, to get ahead of you. But when you move in silence, you deny them access. You leave them guessing. And nothing frustrates a watcher more than mystery. And here's the deeper layer. They're not just watching your actions, they're watching your energy. They're reading your face, your body language, your tone of voice. They're trying to decode your emotional state, because they know that if they can read your spirit, they can anticipate your path. That's why protecting your peace is so crucial right now. Because your peace is their biggest confusion. When you stay calm in chaos, they lose their grip. When you smile in storms, they panic. Because your peace is proof that you're not moving on human strength. You're moving under divine covering. And that brings us to the hidden reason no one wants to say out loud. The real reason they're watching you is not because you're just another person with talent or beauty or charisma. It's because, whether they can articulate it or not, they sense God on you. They sense a calling, a protection, a favor that doesn't add up logically. And when something can't be explained, it must be observed. This is why enemies form. Not because you did something wrong, but because you remind them of the power they can't control. You walk into spaces they can't enter. You survive attacks that should have ended you. You open doors that remain locked for them. And because they can't figure it out, they watch, hoping for answers they'll never find. But here's what you need to know. The more they watch, the more they confirm your assignment. Every set of eyes on you is a testimony that you carry something worth observing. And whether they admit it or not, every moment they spend focused on you is energy they're taking away from their own growth. While they're watching, you're building. While they're studying, you're moving. While they're gossiping, you're elevating. And soon, they'll realize something terrifying. Your rise is unstoppable. They've been watching for weakness, waiting for collapse, hoping for failure. But instead, they'll witness acceleration. They'll see you step into realms they never imagined you could enter. They'll see opportunities fall into your lap that they can't explain. They'll see you expand in ways that make no sense, because favor doesn't follow logic, it follows alignment. And in that moment, the watchers will split into two groups. Some will humble themselves, acknowledging that what they're witnessing is divine, allowing your journey to inspire them to awaken their own. But others will harden themselves, growing bitter, resentful, hostile, because your rise forces them to confront their own refusal to move. And both groups will keep watching, but for entirely different reasons. So let me ask you, are you ready for that? Are you ready for the weight of being observed not just by eyes of admiration, but by eyes of envy, eyes of confusion, eyes of resistance? Because the higher you rise, the more eyes will follow, and with every step, the hidden reason grows clearer. You are not being watched for entertainment. You are being watched because you are evidence. Evidence that the chosen cannot be stopped. But what happens when evidence turns undeniable? What happens when your glow grows so bright that even your enemies are forced to acknowledge it? And here is the truth they don't want you to realize. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. The reason they're watching your every move is because deep down, they know you're not playing the same game as them. You're moving on a higher frequency, operating on a different timeline, aligned with a destiny they can't rewrite, no matter how hard they try. That's why their eyes follow you in silence. That's why their whispers grow louder behind closed doors. And that's why your presence disrupts every room you enter. You're a living reminder that chosen ones exist, that divine favor is real, and they can't control what they can't understand. But hear me clearly. You cannot allow their stares, their monitoring, their silent judgment to intimidate you. You have to walk with the authority that was given to you. You have to stand as if every eye on you is confirmation, not condemnation. You were chosen to be the evidence that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, that the ones who plotted will only witness, and that the ones who doubted will only confirm what they tried to deny. Every move you make is not for their approval, it is for God's glory, and that's what terrifies them. And maybe you've wondered why you feel this unshakable pressure, as if all of life is testing you in ways no one else can understand. It's because when you're chosen, the spotlight isn't optional, it's inevitable. The very thing you wish would go away, the constant watching, the endless judgment, the silent comparisons. That's part of the process. The fire of scrutiny refines you, sharpens you, makes you untouchable in ways comfort never could. While they're watching, you're transforming. While they're doubting, you're becoming. While they're studying, you're rising. They will see everything, but they won't be able to stop anything. Let this sink in. Some of the people watching you right now are secretly waiting for you to fail. They're hoping you'll stumble because your fall would justify their disbelief in you. But others, and this is the part you need to hear, are silently inspired. They'll never admit it, but your endurance gives them courage. Your resilience gives them hope. Your glow, your rise, your refusal to break. It sparks something in them they can't explain. So don't ever mistake their silence for absence. They may not clap, they may not cheer, but they are taking notes. You are teaching even when you don't speak. You are leading even when you don't try. And that's why you must not shrink. Don't dim your light to make their eyes comfortable. Don't hold back your power just because they can't handle the full measure of it. You are not here to play small. You are here to embody the greatness they swore didn't exist. When they watch you, let them see what it looks like when purpose walks. Let them see what it looks like when favor moves. Let them see what it looks like when someone chosen refuses to bow to fear, to doubt, to opposition. Because soon, and I want you to feel this, soon the very reason they're watching will be revealed. Soon the hidden hand of God in your life will be undeniable. Soon the same mouths that whispered in the shadows will speak your name in awe. Soon the eyes that tracked your every move will witness the very thing they tried to delay. Your arrival at the place destiny prepared for you all along. And when that moment comes, you won't even have to defend yourself. The results will speak, the blessings will testify, the transformation will silence every critic. So walk boldly, chosen one. Every step you take under their watchful eyes is not pressure, it is proof. Proof that you were trusted with more, proof that you carry what others can't, proof that you are exactly who God said you are. Stop questioning why they're watching. Start embracing the fact that you're worth watching. Because when the spotlight of destiny shines, you don't hide, you rise. And when all eyes are on you, remember this: they're not just witnesses, they're unwilling participants in the story God is writing through your life. So let them watch, let them stare, let them whisper. Because no matter how closely they follow your every move, they'll never understand the source of your strength. They'll never decode the favor that shields you. They'll never replicate the light that carries you. You are chosen, and that alone is the reason they can't take their eyes off you. And when it's all said and done, you'll look back and realize their watching was never to destroy you. It was to reveal you. You were never hidden. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared, placed on a stage you didn't even ask for. So the world would have no choice but to see what a chosen one looks like. This is your moment. Step into it with no fear. Because chosen one, they're watching. But soon, they'll be witnessing something greater than they ever imagined. And now, chosen one, the world has arrived at the point where your presence can no longer be denied. They've tried to cover you in silence, but silence has become your amplifier. They've tried to study you in secret, but the more they watch, the more questions rise in their own hearts. Questions they cannot answer. You've become the paradox they cannot solve, the flame that doesn't burn out, the mystery that only grows deeper with time. And that's the hidden reason they've been watching your every move. They sense that the shift you carry within you is about to manifest outside of you, and it terrifies them. You see, every chosen one comes to a final stage, the unveiling. This is the moment where observation turns into exposure. They've been trying to track you from a distance, but soon they'll no longer have the privilege of simply watching, because your light is about to radiate so strongly that it won't just be seen. It will be undeniable, uncontainable, and unforgettable. And when that happens, the ones who watched in silence will have to decide: do they step aside, or do they get consumed by the very energy they tried to monitor? This is why you feel the tension in the air, why you sense eyes even when no one's around. It's not paranoia, it's prophecy. Every hidden watcher, every quiet observer, every silent witness has been lining up unconsciously, waiting for this very moment. And the universe is preparing to reveal you in such a way that their silent watching will turn into public acknowledgement. What was once whispered about you behind closed doors will soon be spoken openly, and even your enemies will be forced to testify to the greatness that surrounds you. But here's the deeper truth. You were never meant to be comfortable with being watched. That discomfort you've carried, that unease in your spirit every time you felt those invisible eyes, it wasn't just an attack, it was training. It was the fire that taught you to live authentically even when scrutinized. It was the discipline that taught you how to walk in truth even when misunderstood. It was the sharpening that made you strong enough to stand before the world without needing their approval. Chosen one, the hidden reason they've been watching is because your life carries revelation. You don't just live, you prophesy. Every step you take sends ripples through the atmosphere. Every choice you make plants seeds that grow in silence but bloom in power. And the watchers, whether they know it or not, have been receiving those ripples, those seeds, those frequencies. Your life has been a living message, and they've been the unwilling audience to a sermon they never asked to hear. Soon, though, the stage shifts. The time comes when the audience can no longer remain passive. They'll be forced to react. Some will run from the light you carry. Some will try to mimic it, though they will never replicate the source. And some, those who were meant to be touched, will finally step out of the shadows, confessing that they were watching all along because something inside them recognized the truth. You are a living revelation, and revelation never leaves its witnesses unchanged. That's why the pressure has intensified. That's why it feels like eyes are everywhere. Because the final unveiling is near, and in that unveiling, you will not just be observed. You will be exalted. Not exalted by man, not lifted by false praise, but elevated by the very hand of the divine. The watchers will see you lifted into places they never thought you could reach. They'll see doors open for you that no human effort could have unlocked. They'll see a glow on you that no imitation could counterfeit. So don't shrink back now. Don't let the weight of observation make you hide your light. Don't dim yourself to make the watchers more comfortable. They've already been uncomfortable for years because deep down, your existence reminds them of everything they've suppressed in themselves. Your courage reminds them of their fears. Your authenticity exposes their masks. Your purpose unsettles their distractions. And your anointing reveals their lack. But instead of resenting it, understand this. Your watchers are proof of your impact. People don't study what doesn't matter. They don't analyze what isn't valuable. They don't watch what isn't worth watching. The reason they're watching is because even they know deep down that something extraordinary is happening through you. Chosen one, it's almost time. The hidden reason they've been watching is about to be revealed in front of everyone. You will step into rooms where their silent notes about you become public recognition. You will find yourself in spaces where those who tried to remain invisible will finally step forward, admitting they were influenced by your life. You will see the very ones who doubted you become the ones who validate you. And you will realize that every watchful eye was only part of a bigger plan, to ensure that when your light shines, there are witnesses to testify that it was real. So walk boldly. Stand tall, live fully, because they're not just watching anymore. They're being prepared to witness the manifestation of destiny in front of their very eyes. And when that moment comes, you won't need to say a word. Your life will speak louder than any explanation. Your glow will silence every doubt. Your rise will answer every question, and the world will finally see the truth. You were chosen all along.